Welcome back to the PT Graduate Podcast. My guest today, Amy Stewart. Hi, Amy.
Yeah,
How are you?
thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. Loving the change in weather. Unfortunately, I don't think it's sticking around. I was talking to someone in Wellington this morning, and they've been absolutely blown to bits.
Okay. No, I haven't looked ahead at the weather, so I thought, oh, this is it. Spring is here.
Yeah, it's so warm. I was delayering during sessions this morning because it just felt like the temperature was rising. It's great. Summer's around the corner. So, Amy, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do now? And we'll rewind the tape and sort of start back at the beginning and find out where it all started. That's the usual pattern.
So at the moment in the fitness industry, I am teaching a bunch of group classes. So mainly in Pilates and bar with a sprinkle of core and TRX and some kind of interval training classes at about 5 different studios in Auckland. And then I also am a personal trainer working from my home training space. I see about maybe 4 clients a week at the moment to kind of supplement that.
Mm,
That's mainly, well, I guess it's weight-based training, but also Pilates technique one-on-ones. And
right.
then I also have a full-time job as well as office manager.
Yeah, I was just sort of writing it all out and going, how the hell do you, how do you make that work and sleep?
It is a juggle, yes.
You've obviously got some good relationships with a number of different organizations then if you're working in multiple locations. Are they spread out? I mean, Auckland traffic's not that friendly, so how do you manage with that?
I know it is quite tight sometimes, but they are all central based. And also keeping in mind where my day job is, I can just make it work. I've just been able to kind of piece this puzzle together and get it really slick and very
Mm,
efficient.
nice, nice. It sounds like you have to be highly organized at the same time. It's good. Well done. Congratulations. So what made you get into it in the first place? You've got a dance background, right?
Yes, so I grew up a dancer, starting ballet at age 5 and continued on right into my early adult years with ballet and jazz. More is where I kind of found a stronger passion and competed and actually taught dance as a full-time dance teacher, teaching kids and adults in
Mm,
my early 20s. And then felt that, because of the hours, those after school hours, I was looking for something that could supplement that time. And I kind of fell into a Pilates apprenticeship
mm,
and was working more with dancers and that conditioning part of dance training, which is essentially Pilates. And I took that training into an overseas, it was a performing arts summer camp in New York
yep.
and taught dance classes, but then also returned a couple of years later to work in the gym facility there teaching Pilates. To both the students and the adults there. And it
Mm,
was while I was there that I got influenced by the guys in the gym because I did have to kind of wing it a little bit as a PT in a way. Like I wasn't formally qualified, but I was working in the gym as a Pilates teacher
mm,
and still had to be more of a gym instructor on the floor. You know how they have it, Les Mills, just walking around on the
mm,
gym floor and giving general assistance. So I still had to do that part of the job.
right.
And so the guys would help me out and I was naturally quite strong and quite proficient with different movements. And they just said, oh, why don't you try? I remember this one day, it was, why don't you try a bench press and let's see how many you could do?
Okay.
And out of all the girls on the gym floor, it wasn't loaded, it was only 20 kilos.
Yep.
But I cracked out the most reps on the bench press. And I was absolutely stoked. And I think that really set set off something in me to be like, oh, this is kind of cool. You know, when you're good at something, you're
Mm,
naturally inclined to explore it a bit more.
mm,
So yeah, they really influenced me. One friend in particular, shout out to Zane, totally just changed my life from that moment. Came home and really got into weight training. Explored the bodybuilding scene, competed there
mm.
for a few years, and then yeah, kind of U-turned back into the Pilates, teaching a lot there, and then finally during COVID decided to get my official PT certification.
Right. Yes. Yeah. With Nassim, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I'm curious to know why that. What might is it because of your link with America and
Actually, City Fitness oh, I don't know if sponsor is the right word, but
yeah,
they're affiliated with NASM.
right,
And because I already teach at City Fitness, it was a natural
yeah,
progression to do that course. And the fact that it's internationally recognized was
mm,
a good bonus. And
mm,
it just really suited my style of learning. It was all independently based, except for a few in-person workshops, which were hosted by City Fitness and some trainers there. And they were invaluable, really, like such great content and delivery and a good opportunity to really ask questions and delve into the practical side of things.
mm.
The main workshop that was compulsory for you to do was 3 days long. 8 hours a day, looking at movement patterns and movement assessment. And yeah, it was amazing. It was exactly what I needed.
Mm, mm. And do you know much about some of the other courses in terms of how NASM compares? Because I wouldn't be able to, put them against each other and say this is better or that's better, or not necessarily better being the right word, but it's more thorough, more in depth, covering more ground.
It is tricky to say. I did look into a few other ones. I think a big sway factor for me was cost,
Mm,
especially because I was already working in the fitness industry. So
mm,
it kind of was a layering on top qualification for me. I knew I've got an anatomy qualification through Pilates, it was a specific anatomy certification.
mm,
Um, and I'd covered a lot of biomechanics and that knowledge. So it was really just this layering on of the personal training. And I think it was the easiest way for me to do it. Internationally recognized as a
yeah.
big bonus. Also,
Mm,
the reps side of things, it can be recognized by reps. I just need to get it signed off.
yep.
Um, yeah, those were my main points when kind of
Mm,
considering what I was looking for. As well, there wasn't a big portion of business,
yep. Yep.
which I didn't feel that I needed. I'd worked as a self-employed contractor for years,
Mm,
and I didn't feel that I needed a third. Sometimes it's up to a third of the course to be business skills.
sure.
A few years right prior to COVID, actually, I did look at going through the New Zealand Institute of Health and Fitness.
Yes.
And then they closed their Queen Street campus. So they only had one way down south and one way in Albany. And so that just
Yeah.
wasn't viable for me, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
that would be my second choice.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Just interested to know because I mean there may be people listening who are at that stage and don't know. So it's good to find out more under what's under the hood sort of thing.
Mm.
Um, I'm keen to know more about these bodybuilding shows because you didn't just have a go for a couple of years. You absolutely smashed it. You did 9 shows and you came first in 7.
It was, yeah, it's very addictive. I will be honest,
Yeah.
it is very addictive for anyone considering competing. Be warned, you probably won't do just one show.
Right.
The reason I wanted to try bodybuilding, firstly, I noticed that the girls who I saw on social media or wherever that were competing weren't living a lifestyle that dissimilar to mine at that time. I was
Yeah.
training 6 days a week, doing the traditional bodybuilding splits. I
Yeah.
was eating very clean, watching my nutrition, and I thought,
Mm,
I I wanted to learn more
mm,
about training, about nutrition, and how it all works. And I thought,
mm,
what better way to learn than to throw yourself into an extreme, the extreme world of bodybuilding competitions. And so I did my research beforehand because,
mm.
it's not something that you can just sign up for and fumble your way through. You really
Yeah.
do need a team behind you, supporting you and guiding you. So I had an amazing nutritionist. I used a personal trainer for my first show.
Yep.
I had a posing coach as well. And
Mm,
then going forwards after that first show, I did all the training myself
mm,
because I felt that I could. And I'm really proud to say that. Like, I think my personal trainer, the first show, was invaluable in guiding me because it was so new and fresh.
mm,
Um, but going forwards, I enjoyed training so much and I really enjoyed putting my own training programs together. And because it was a learning experience for me, it was such a great opportunity. Um, So I explored a few of the different federations. I didn't just stick with one, and I moved around the different categories as well. I
Oh,
started in NABA shape
yeah.
and then put on quite a bit of muscle mass, and actually, fortunately, could get quite lean quite easily. I have quite blessed with quite good genetics with my mum. She's teeny tiny.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I will be honest that I am, blessed with genetics. I didn't have to diet
Mm,
that hard. I didn't
mm,
even have to put cardio in. Uh,
mm,
and then, yeah, cycled through, moved into this fitness model category, went to nationals with that one, won that one with NABA WFF.
hmm.
And then I took a little bit of time off to decide, where to next, and decided I wanted to do a show overseas to explore beyond New Zealand.
Yeah,
Sometimes here it can be a little bit disheartening. The numbers aren't necessarily there.
right.
You spend a lot of time in prep, and sometimes there might not actually be that many other competitors in your class.
Mm,
So you might place,
mm.
but maybe there was only three people in that class,
Yeah,
So
yep, yep,
and it is a big commitment in terms of time, money, and sacrifice. With social occasions, with your relationships, with your mood, with your
yeah,
energy. It is a big ask. So I thought, okay, let's go to Australia where the big fish are, and have a go there. And that
yeah,
was so much fun, big learning opportunity.
yeah.
Yeah. And that was INBA, that show, INBA.
Right, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And is that Melbourne, did you say?
That was in Brisbane.
Brisbane, Brisbane. Okay, cool. So more competitors, more difficult to get closer to the medals.
Yeah, I mean, I initially entered the fitness model category because I was solidly competing in that in New Zealand. And then I actually got on stage with fitness model and looked beside me and thought, goodness me, this is next level in terms
Right.
of your physique. I got off stage, and actually one of the judges ran backstage to me and said, do you mind changing class, because you would actually be absolutely perfect for bikini.
Ah,
Whereas in New Zealand at that time, and things have changed, but at that time in New Zealand, the kind of guideline was no six pack abdominals for bikini.
right.
In Australia, no, all the bikini girls had very visible abdominal lines. So I
Okay.
thought, okay, let's give bikini a go. So I
Yeah.
was kind of thrown a little bit,
Hmm.
and jumped back on stage in bikini and got second in that
Hmm.
class. Yeah, it was a good way
Yeah.
to kind of wrap up the year.
Quite a learning process, but at the same time, good of the judge to kind of see the opportunity that was there
Yeah, for
and
sure.
help you. Yeah,
It
yeah.
just, yeah,
Impressive.
if anyone is thinking of doing a bodybuilding show, a lot of research into the category and the class, because there are just so many differences. And
Yeah.
bikini in one federation might not be the same as bikini in another.
Okay. Yeah, good point. Good point. So what were the learnings? Like I always sort of seem to get this feedback from people that have done the bodybuilding things that they feel like it's wrecked their body or their metabolism's, not where it was, like the anecdotal evidence doesn't seem to be very kind, but doesn't sound like it was quite that bad from your experience. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely challenging at times. I think you do have to be mentally strong and be
Mm,
fixed on your goal and know why you're doing it. I think I faltered there a little bit, like, why? And I think that's why I've stepped away from it now, because I don't have that why anymore.
mm,
My goals have changed, but yeah, knowing why you're doing it and not doing it for the Insta likes
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
that, it has to come from within.
Mm,
And again, I think I was very lucky to have a really great nutritionist behind me, and um, the fact that I was able to still have carbs in my diet and right up until the end was a blessing. And I know that not
yep.
everyone can do that. And when you are on the fish and the green beans for
Mm,
weeks on end, that's where I think you will run into trouble.
yep.
It is very important as well to reverse diet after you've been very, very low, to sensibly do that and not go on a crazy binge for 3 weeks.
Mm,
It's just not going to be a good result. So just being really calm and mindful with your rebound out of it.
yep, yep. So you're slowly titrating up the calorie um amount per week till you get to the point where your body starts to put weight back on again. Is that right?
You're just back at maintenance, right? So you're
Yep. Yep.
gonna get back to your body's kind of
Mm,
natural state out of that fat loss stage. And importantly, in the end, it's actually more about dehydration and losing the fluids
mm,
to really get those nice lines coming
right.
through. So yeah, just being mindful of getting hydrated as well, and then just bringing
Mm,
things back
mm,
to a good level, and not living down there. You know, you can't live
yep.
at those lean levels, and understanding that from the beginning. You know, I
Yes.
think people might see the photos on stage and know that that is only for one day.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's
So,
not a route to weight loss.
no. Fair,
No.
fair point. Fair point. Um, is it right that you superhydrate and then you stop drinking water sort of 48 hours before?
You slowly bring it down. So I think I started, mine was very tame. I was very lucky. I think I started at 5 liters on, say, the Monday, and then dropped down 4, 3, 2, 1, and then
Right.
sipping on show day, just sipping
Got you.
as little
Got
as
you.
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It makes total sense to come back out of that gradually and carefully, not go and stuff 10 Big Macs down your mouth just to because you can.
And I mean, you will have a cheat meal after the show is over. Often
Yep.
everyone will have their cheat meal in mind and be like, right, I'm so excited. Mine was always nachos. You know, you'd have your nice
Yep.
nachos, but then the next day, just try and just eat as normal and as healthy as possible on
Yep.
your reverse diet plan, instead of pancakes and then
Mm.
cake and coffee, and then lunch would be like, I don't know, fish and chips. Like try
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like keep that really nice cheat meal and then try
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
ease back into it, because
Okay.
it'll be a shock to the system.
Yeah. 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 You've got to be kind to your system. So you got the NASM qualification in 22, and you've explained that nicely, but there's more to it. The list keeps going. So 2023 saw some circus training.
Yeah. Gosh, so I picked up Lyra, which is the hoop training, um, through a circus training school, and I've stuck with it and absolutely enjoy it. It is such an awesome application of my strength as
Mm.
well as dance background and flexibility, that I feel like I've taken to it really well and absolutely love it. And it's just driven my training and conditioning outside of the circus training space into the gym and into my focus within my training.
Yeah. Yeah. So am I right in saying that this is a hoop that's suspended from the ceiling a certain distance?
Yes. Oh, I don't know the exact distance. It varies. You can move it up and down.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it can be quite high or it could be quite low. It depends on a variety of reasons what height you'd like it to be. Um,
Sure.
it does spin. So initially when I signed up to do this, I didn't know you had to spin. I thought you just did
Ah.
the cool moves and the hoop. I didn't really put
Mm,
the two and two together.
mm,
And then we introduced spinning, doing the
mm.
move, and I got extremely sick with motion sickness.
Yeah.
And I thought this could be it. I might have to quit, because I would literally feel sick the entire day, like I'd stepped off a boat.
Hmm.
I just had this feeling of nausea that just wouldn't go away.
Mm.
And it is actually fairly common. You do have to push past the barrier and get your tolerance up for the spin, because if you look at
Right.
some of the professionals, how fast they go, it's incredible. And I would even get
Mhm.
it sometimes just sitting on the hoop, kind of going from side to side, be like, you come down and you have to just take a moment with your head between your knees.
Right. Right.
But there's a few things that can help. I take ginger supplements before I go up, and wear the little
Okay.
motion
Oh
bracelet.
yeah. Yeah.
Like those can be helpful as well. But some days are just better than others. Yeah.
So it is a conditioning thing, because as soon as you said spin, my mind went straight to figure skater, where
Oh,
they're carving up the ice and how I don't know how many revolutions in a in a minute or whatever, but the more you do it, the more your vestibular system would adjust, I imagine.
yes. So it is vestibular
Yeah.
training.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can train it outside of the hoop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't get better with age, unfortunately.
Damn it.
started 20 years ago, it probably would have been
Mm,
fine.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just a gradual process. Your system gets used to it. The tolerance goes up.
Yes. And it will go back down if you take a break.
Ah, okay. Yeah. That makes total sense, doesn't it? Like with everything, the specificity rule is very true.
Yeah.
So what was the attraction to that? Like I can it sort of ties in with some of the other stuff, but was it just different and new or
Well, there's someone who I followed on Instagram for a while who's based in the US who is an absolute inspiration to me because we
Right.
share so many aspects of our fitness and dance and all the different things. So her name is Joanna Rabin, and she was a professional dancer, and she was an aerialist or is an aerialist as well. And I thought,
Mm.
wow, she did a bodybuilding show as well. And I
Oh,
thought, oh, she's really great at this, and this fits her skill set. Maybe I should give it a go.
right.
So yeah, that's kind of how
Mm.
how that
Yeah,
started.
yeah. Inspiration. And then next on the list, we're looking at calisthenics. So you got more into the body weight. What aspect of it, and what sort of things are you doing with the calisthenics?
It's crazy because I never would have believed making the transition from bodybuilding, lifting heavy weights, and believing that weight training was the way and the only way to build good, solid muscle mass.
Mm.
I am completely converted now. I still lift weights, but
Yep.
only twice a week now.
Mm.
And a lot of those exercises I choose are with calisthenics in mind and how can this
Right.
progress calisthenics apart from leg day. That's its own traditional,
Keep
leg.
that to
Well,
yourself.
yeah, unfortunately, that's one point where calisthenics it doesn't quite work, but
Sure.
upper body and
Mm.
core training, um, it's just incredible. It is so hard. It's given me such a great challenge, and I feel that I can now see my fitness goals 5, 10 years into the future.
Really? Wow.
Calisthenics.
Because
Um,
it just takes so much time to put those steps into place to be competent at something.
it's like it's the building blocks.
Mm. Mm.
Starting, you can think of all the amazing moves like planche, front lever, back lever, all the different flags, and gosh, so many cool moves, even, your muscle up. And if you
Yeah.
bring it right back to where you've actually got to start to achieve those moves, there can be so many little steps that you have to, the word is unlock, uh,
Mm.
before you can kind of progress to the next phase of training.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah,
Mm.
so making slow but sure progress there. And I have to say, in terms of my physique, I'm stoked. Like it's quite incredible that I've put on quite a bit more muscle and
Right.
feeling relatively lean with no cardio, no dieting.
Mm.
Really, the only change is my training style into more of the calisthenics world, which is
Interesting.
awesome. I'm yeah, loving it.
Yeah. It's good.
And it goes
Um,
really well with aerial as well. Often
yes.
trainers and calisthenics, there is definitely an overlap. Whether
Mm.
they consciously are aware of the overlap or not. Some people like myself will definitely train in aerial and calisthenics, and then sometimes you'll be in an aerial class and we're kind of doing calisthenics conditioning or calisthenics training, and vice versa.
Sure. Yeah. Natural overlap. I tried to do was coached how to do some headstands back in May. And as soon as you started talking about the steps, I'm like, yep, because I didn't have the overhead range, right? So there's no point in even trying to get up there until you've got the overhead range. Then you can stabilize the shoulder girdle. Then you can get into position. Then you can work on how long you're going to hold it for. Then you can start walking. Like I didn't even get up properly, and it was like 2 or 3 days practicing. So it makes sense how difficult it is, how challenging it is, how rewarding it can be. And because it's something you may not necessarily have done before, how much demand it is on your body. Like you were saying, you're really happy with your physique.
Yes.
It's seriously challenging. So it would take a large toll in terms of that recovery piece and adaptation.
Mm. And
Mm,
even thinking about a handstand, you're upside down, you're essentially balancing your body weight on your hands. You're holding your body weight. Now,
mm.
I don't think I've ever overhead. I'm around what between a float between maybe 58, 60 kilos at the moment. If
Right.
I was, I don't think I've ever overhead pressed 60 kilos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's what's on top of my hands, it's
Yeah.
just blowing it down.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. When you put it into those terms, it's suddenly the reality kicks in, doesn't it? And I was just thinking, when you're on the floor, of course, your wrists are at 90. How
Hmm.
often do we spend time on the floor with our wrists at that position? I'm thinking maybe animal flow, those sorts of
Mm.
disciplines is where that's required. But if you don't do those things, it's really uncomfortable to be in that position for a long time.
There's a lot of wrist conditioning and wrist strengthening as well.
Mm, mm,
Core strength, grip strength, all that stuff.
mm, mm. Yeah, fun stuff, fun stuff. And you do some other stuff as well. You've got a bar on there, Pilates, obviously the dancers, and some MMA events as well.
Yeah, I just ring card those events.
Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
never
No
never
fighting.
accepted. No fighting for me, no. But yeah, because of having, a great seat to watch all the action, yeah, I just love watching combat sports now. Sure, just from those jobs, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, I
how,
can
how
really appreciate the training and the discipline that goes into that as well.
oh, they're amazing athletes,
Amazing.
aren't they?
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And so you obviously know someone in that space, or are you with an agency? How does that work?
Bit of both, really. I mean, I've been on the scene for a few years now, so just got to know some certain promoters and have a really great relationship with them.
Mm,
Really enjoy representing their shows and their events and their fighters and things. So yeah, a lot of it is the word of mouth and just those personal connections and showing up, being professional, being reliable, presenting well, and yeah, it's just kind of eventuated that way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Did I see a photo of you in full regalia, like dressed up to the nines? Not MMA stuff, but it may have been a promotional event.
Yeah,
But I
probably.
think you and one other girl were, in full gear, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's quite impressive gear.
Yeah, I can't say for sure because I don't know which photo necessarily you're talking
No,
about. It's a
red
bunch
and
of them.
gold, I think. Red and gold was the theme, maybe.
Yeah, that was probably with a dance agency called Finesse Entertainment, who specialize in professional dancers as well as promotional um, models for different events and things. So she's got some beautiful big champagne dresses where the champagne glasses sit in the skirt. That's a really popular one that we do quite a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, otherwise it could be, gosh, it could be anything
Mm.
depending on the event. But you're really lucky to have those opportunities, whether dancing or whether just getting to wear these beautiful outfits and show up to different events. And yeah,
Mm, mm, mm. Fantastic. I've been to a few conferences where they've done the aerial acrobatics
oh,
as part of the entertainment, and it was in Spark Arena, I think, when it was Spark. No, when it was Vector, sorry. Um, Incredible to watch. And not with the hoops, but with wrapped in the material where they're wind themselves up and then fall and stop before hitting the ground. It's like, geez, how do these people do this stuff?
that one's not for me. I gave it a go for a few
Yeah,
weeks. And I just don't trust myself to tie it correctly, to then let go and hope that you're going to be caught at the bottom.
yeah,
I just know. I'm sorry.
yeah. Like the hoops in that is impressive enough,
Oh,
but yeah, that's next level, isn't it? In terms of you're anchored, but you're wrapped, and you allow the unwrap to be the fall, but you're still tied on. But I don't know,
that's incredible.
risky business. Obviously, very professional people, and they know exactly what they're doing. So it's about that time, top tips time. So what have you got for me, Amy? What sort of things would you share in terms of things that have worked for you in business or personally, or routines, disciplines, systems, whatever? What sort of things would you recommend?
I think firstly is obviously creating connections in the industry. That goes without saying, right?
Mm,
But I really enjoy setting up some one-on-one catch-ups with other trainers or group fitness instructors just to have a bit of a debrief about things. I think when you're at a networking event or a conference, everyone's got their, professional face on and is gonna, present that things are all good and well and positive. And there are, of course, challenges. And
mm,
connecting with people on a one-to-one and just sharing your challenges at the moment and maybe giving insight into some solutions that might help your friend or vice
Mm.
versa can be really, really helpful and just reassuring. It can be quite an isolating industry to work in when you're just passing other teachers as you leave, they arrive, or, with myself, I do PT from my home space. So, I don't have other trainers to chat to in between
Yeah.
sessions. So I find that really, really valuable um,
Mm.
just to connect and share tips and tricks and advice.
Mm. Mm. Good.
Um, Another one, of course, is setting your boundaries, which is kind of
Mm.
an overused word, but I'm really only becoming more aware of this now. When you do start out teaching group fitness, I think there's a lot of pressure to say yes, and you are encouraged to say yes a lot of the time to the random covers that pop up, to the last minute covers, to class times that nobody else wants.
Mm. Yeah.
um, that you do bend over backwards to make it
Mm.
work. I think
Mm.
a lot of personal trainers and group fitness instructors are people pleasers intrinsically. And we do want to give so much energy and, yeah, really help to serve other people um, that it comes to a point that you just can't always be that person and you will burn out. And so I think setting boundaries in terms of how many classes a week can you commit to? How many covers can you commit to? Are there certain days or times that you just want to block out that you cannot teach because it's
Mm.
not worth the cost? I taught Sunday evenings for I think just over a year, a double on a Sunday evening, and it was really hard. The impact that had for me starting Monday, yeah, it was really, really challenging. And it took me a while to actually realize that. And
Mm.
it was almost, it would have been easier to put that double somewhere else, anywhere else. It wasn't the actual physical task of teaching the class. It was just when it was that just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Um, so you're ruling out sometimes that is gonna not be a good one for you to teach for whatever reason, and protect that time and keep that for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Another constant juggle is making sure that you have time yourself for your own training,
Mm.
because that's often the first thing to slide as well when you are getting tired, run down, burnt out, perhaps taken on a little bit much that week, is that your own training and your own goals slide. And then I'm never a happy person when I know that I'm not giving my all to my own training. Um, yeah, that's another
Mm.
one.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I guess my final one would be resilient, because some days can be quite challenging and quite hard, and to be honest, quite disheartening. When you have clients with a last minute cancellation, you might have, I don't know, like poor class numbers one day. There might be a lot of no-shows that show up, and you might just feel a bit flat. Maybe you had a consultation that didn't progress through to an actual session. And instead of getting down about it, is try and just focus on the next day, the next action, the next step. And because you never know what the next week will bring. Often I'll have a not so great week. And then the next week I've got some new client leads and some great reviews, or some great feedback. And it's suddenly all worthwhile again. So try not to get caught up in the days that aren't so great or rewarding.
Brilliant. Love it. I like it. That's so true. I could hear you describing my weeks. It's so true. We do have highs and lows. It's never very predictable with when it comes to people. So yeah, that's the nature of the beast. And I think that resilience sort of comes with practice, doesn't it? And sort of maintaining a mindset that says, it may have been a bad week, but I'm not a failure. It's just a bad week. Next week may be quite different. So I like that, and I don't think that one's ever been mentioned before. So you'll be pleased to hear that's definitely a new one from my memory. There's a few episodes there. I'm sure you can check them
Yeah.
out. But it's brilliant. That's great. Thank you so much, Amy. It's been great chatting and reconnecting and finding out a little bit more about you.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care.
See ya.